Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be with you and to be back here at Mount Vernon. We are so excited for Catherine Queen to be here and to share these wonderful tips, safety tips. But we want to begin today with a word of prayer. So if you'd bow with me. Gracious and almighty God, we are so thankful to be in your holy place today. Open our ears, attune our hearts to hear all that you want us to know and to teach us today through this wonderful time of learning. And we thank you and we bless each person here. And we bless the leaders and the speakers. And we thank you for who you are. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
This is Catherine Queen.
That's my key. I don't think I need this. Paul, I can lay this one down. All? Can you hear me good? I'm not used to wearing one of these fancy fandangled things, so bear with me. I have my hands to talk with a lot more. As she said, I am Catherine Queen. I'm with the High Point Police Department. I'm in our community division, and I'm a police officer in that division. I've been with the police department going on 22 years now. Served time on patrol as a patrol officer, and then spent 13 years undercover in our narcotics unit. So switching into this, it's been almost a year since I came into our community division, and this is exactly what we do. We do education for churches, for schools, for nursing homes, for anybody. We teach as much as we can because we feel the more that we can get out there, hopefully we can prevent anything happening or having more victims. So we're going to go through two different things today. The first PowerPoint is scams and safety tips. This talks about frauds, elder exploitation, things like that. And then we're going to go into another one of situational awareness of how to keep ourselves safe when we're out and about. I'm very informal. I will probably stumble on a word or two, but if you all have any questions, please let me know. We can stop and go through those. I'll introduce to you who I have with me today. Back in the very back is Miss Emily Cook. She is our community outreach coordinator. She really helps plan and get us going on everything that we do. We haven't gotten her to give one of the presentations yet because she just refuses that side of it. But one day we'll have her up here. On the front row, we have Major Matt Truitt. He is the major over the community division. And Matt Truitt has been with the police department 19 years. And beside of Major Truitt is Captain Rachel Jurin. She is the captain over our community division. So all of us, if you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, feel free to ask us throughout. And we'll get going. Paul, if you would go to the first slide, please. Okay, so we're talking about crime prevention and frauds. And typically what we're looking at is financial exploitation that's been called the crime of the 21st century. It's geared towards populations of age 62 and older. 50 million Americans age 62 and older are the huge demographic to reach. The elder population loses $3 billion annually for financial crimes or scams. Can y'all still hear? Oh, hello, I'm back. 13% of American elders become victims of financial fraud every year. That's 1 in 44 incidents are reported. And that's only 1 in 44 incidents because of the fear of embarrassment. So just think, if you were scammed or frauded in some way, you don't want anybody to know about it because that embarrasses you and you're scared of what your family might say. We can go to the next slide, please, Paul. Paul is our Vanna White today. All right, so what makes our elderly population the most vulnerable? It's on the slide in front of you, but what do you think is one of the main things that people target the elderly population? Anything? Anybody? Do y'all carry cash? I shouldn't say y'all. because we don't have any elderly in here today. We're talking about the people that can't hardly get around. We're talking about people that are 60 and over is our elderly population, and none of those are here today, are they? I didn't think so. So those that are not here, the elderly population, they carry cash. A lot of people don't trust the banks that were born prior to 1970. They would rather carry cash, and scammers know that. They are typically at home, enjoying their hard-earned retirement, sitting back and relaxing. And then how many of you still have a home phone? How many of those home phones are the same number that have been that number for years? Exactly. It's easy to find you. Next slide, please. So these are some things that we're going to go over. I'm not going to touch on each of these because we're going to go in depth on each of them. So we'll just go right on to the next slide. So, has anybody ever heard of a grandparent scam? Is anybody a victim of a grandparent scam or had any phone calls? You've had them? Okay. Have you fallen for it? That's good. That's very good. Yeah, that's the most hands I've seen that have actually gotten a phone call on it. So just basically what it is that you get a phone call and the person on the other side or the other end of the line says that they are your grandchild and that they are in jail and they need help getting out of jail or some version of that. They need help with bond or bail, and they don't want you to tell anybody, and says that it's urgent. They want cash, gift cards, or want you to wire money. So they'll call, and some people, I mean, how many of you have more than 3 grandchildren? How many have more than 7 grandchildren? Okay. How many have more than 10 grandchildren? Okay, we're capping it at 7 or 8. Is that good? How many of you speak to your grandchildren on the phone daily or know what they sound like on the phone? Okay, so we have a few that may not. I didn't have many cousins, so my grandparents knew what we sounded like, but that does not mean that they couldn't have been confused when they would have gotten a phone call. And you get a phone call like that, especially late at night, you're woken up possibly. The person on the other end is frantic, saying that they're in jail, they need money. You don't have time to think, is this my grandson or my granddaughter's voice? You just know that you want to help them because that's your person and you want to take care of them. But the main thing that we need to remember is to slow down and call the police or call a family member. Call this grandchild or call their parents and say, where is so-and-so? Because I've just gotten a phone call. So instead of just going and getting money immediately, then we just need to slow down and call the police. Next slide, please. Charity scams. These are calls, text, emails. They're usually cold calls and they don't even know your name. Typically after a holiday or a natural disaster, like a hurricane has come through, a tornado has come through. They'll call and they'll ask for you to donate. Some of these, I get them regularly too. We'll say that they are with a police association. They'll be part of the Red Cross or any other association that they think that you'll recognize and want to give money to. Some of the ones that are with the sheriffs or the police association, I don't even give them time, because typically when that person calls, it's partially automated, and it kind of throws you in the beginning of a red flag of, hey, this is not normal. The police department, number one, High Point Police Department is not going to call you and ask you for money. Sheriff's departments, I don't know how they work, but I know that most police departments are not going to ask for money in that sense. So if you get any of these calls, before you automatically make a donation, make sure you find out who they are. Hang up and say, I'll do it online, because any of these legitimate charities would have probably a website or some other way to vet that they are legitimate and not just a scam. Questions on any of that so far? I know I'm rolling pretty fast. Is that okay, or do I need to slow down? Y'all are young. Y'all can keep up, right? Okay. Paul, next slide, please. How about you've won charities? How about Publishers Clearinghouse? Do y'all remember those? Has anybody ever won on Publishers Clearinghouse? Never. And I always thought that there was a chance. Like I would get the thing and I would send it in thinking there is a chance that I'm going to win, but I don't know that anybody ever really did. So these are, again, cold calls. Do y'all know what I mean when I say cold calls? So this goes back to days of undercover narcotic works, and we would do the same thing. If there was a bad guy that we wanted to try and get a buy on, but yet I didn't know him and he didn't know me, I would do what's called a cold call. I would literally call him. I may have his first name, but that's all I have. And I would just talk my way through that whole conversation to see if he would agree to meet me and sell me any drugs. So this is the same kind of thing. We're obviously not dealing with drugs, but this is a cold call. They may have your first name and that's it. They're going to call you and they're going to say, you've won. This is exactly what you've won, but this is what you have to do in order to get your money. And it's a way for them to find out information about you, your banking account, any other checking account, things like that. Again, we should slow down. We should call the police. Paul, next slide, please. Pop-up ads. How many of you have a smartphone? And a computer at home? And do you do any social media stuff? Right? We all do. And you ever see things, especially on a home computer, do you ever see things pop up saying that your virusware is expired and you need to renew it, or you have a virus and you need to click on here to be able to get rid of the virus? On Facebook, you have ads that pop up all the time. You'll even get some things through text messages saying that you've won, or your Amazon package can't be delivered, or whatever, any of those. All the same thing. They want to get your credit card information. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to log on to something, trick you into something, and then entering your information. Again, we don't need to do any of that. Next slide, please. Phishing scams. These are either by email or text messages, and they're usually tricking you into giving out your information. They can be disguised like they're coming from your bank or your credit card company. They'll often tell a story and trick you into clicking on a link or opening an attachment. So what they're trying to do here is they're acting like they're your credit card company, your bank, whatever. You'll get a message saying that an unauthorized amount of $150 was just completed at Walmart on North Main and High Point. Please click here to authorize it. When you click that link, it's going to ask you to enter your bank account information. Well, none of that is true, so then your bank account information is out there. Again, these are all just ways for you to, it's like a clickbait, if you've ever heard of the term clickbait. They want you to click on it, and then they kind of got their hook in you. And it keeps on going. Next slide, please. Sometimes they'll say that they've noticed suspicious activity, like the one I just gave an example of, or login attempts. They claim that there's a problem with your account or your payment information. Say that you must confirm some personal information. They want you to click on a link to make a payment. Say that you're eligible to register for a government refund. Does that ever happen? Has anybody ever gotten much of a government refund? No. Or they'll offer you a coupon for something free. Again, all of these are ways for you to click on something. Once you click on that, it's going to be asking more information about you. You should not enter any information about yourself unless you know it's a legitimate website. Legitimate websites would be the ones that you've been using for years. The one that you go on for your bank or your credit card or your health care, any of that. Those are the legitimate ones, not ones that you're going to click through a link that they emailed you or texted you. Next slide. So this was a scam that was sent via text. This one, I know it's hard to read, but I believe it was Amazon. And it has a link for you to click. Again, once you click that link, it's just going to ask for more information and get your bank account. Okay? Questions on any of those? Next slide. Yep. Oh. You know, it's funny, I got a call this week from U.S. Customs and Border Control saying that there was a package in my name coming from Mexico, and they even gave me the man's name that it was coming from, but they said that inside of the package was money and illegal drugs. And she asked if I was expecting any packages from Mexico, and I said, no, ma'am. She said, well, we're going to have to get some more information because this package was going in your name. I said, okay, what is my name? She said, well, it was on the package. I said, I understand, but what is my name on the package? She hemmed and hawed for a second, and she had an accent. And she finally said, well, your name was Laura. I said, no, it's not. And then the phone just disconnected. So she almost had me for a second because, you know, they get going. If they're a really good actor on the other end, they kind of get going, and then it gets in your head. I mean, I'm a cop, for heaven's sakes. I mean, I should know better that I don't have a package coming from Mexico with money or illegal drugs in it. But it still got in my head a little bit and made me think. I was like, wait a minute, do I have a package coming? I was like, no, I don't. They were just trying to get me. Healthcare scams. These are, they can come in a number of different ways. And you can get a phone call from somebody saying to be with the government, and they need your Medicare number to issue you a new card. The government doesn't call us that much, thankfully. And typically, if we get a new card, it's just mailed to us directly, right? Same thing with a credit card, our insurance card, Medicare card. Any of those cards are usually mailed directly, or you get something telling you it's time to renew. Another one is that you see an ad on TV telling you about a new law that requires you to get a new health care card. Those laws aren't passed that often, and they're not going to pass a law that you have to get a new health care card. Number 3 example is you get a phone call offering you big discounts on health insurance. Does anybody get any discounts on health insurance? I sure don't. I haven't seen anybody that does. Again, these are things we just need to slow down. We need to kind of think about, hey, does this really make sense? They make it sound good, but it doesn't really make sense. Next slide. Okay, what can you do about these situations if you run into any of these? You can take a minute to think before you respond. You can call Medicare at their legitimate number of 1-800-MEDICARE. Do some research on your own. My best friend is Google. I will Google something in a heartbeat. I'm not saying everything on the internet is true, but most things you can find, and you can check them out. Or check with a trusted source. When you prove these claims to be false, you could pass the information along to a friend to protect them from falling victim to this as well. So again, like I said, we do these presentations anywhere and everywhere. It doesn't matter the population. We do it young, old, middle-aged, churches, nursing homes. The elementary schools, we do presentations that are obviously geared towards elementary school kids. But if we can get the word out to prevent somebody from being a victim, we will. Next slide, please. Here are some other options that you may have seen. The one in the top right is the Mac virus warning, saying that you may have a virus, and the Netflix or any of the others that you may see pop up from time to time. Next slide. Romance scams. Has anybody ever heard of these? You can go to the next slide and we'll discuss it. So there are websites or apps that you can download on your phone or on your computer. There's a website, a dating app called Christian Mingle. You know, there's dating apps, different kinds of dating apps. So it could be through any of those. But just examples, we have WhatsApp is an actual app on your phone that's a chatting app. So you can meet anybody through dating apps, through online gaming. Does anybody play any games on their phone, like Words with Friends or any other little games that you can play on your phone or on your computer? Any of those games typically have a chat feature within them, on just about all of them. And a lot of people meet people that way and start talking to people that way. Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, any of them. So then they start talking and they start hanging out. We'll go to the next slide. Please. Thank you. So before we get into this video, one of the things with a romance scam is that you meet this person online and you start talking to them, chatting with them, never meet them in person, but you fall in love with them. But the whole time that you're in this dating relationship with them or chatting relationship, you are sending them money. We did this presentation at Rich Fork Baptist Church in Thomasville back in the spring, I think. And we had one couple in there, and the woman said that her mother is currently in a romance scam. Her mother was 80-some years old and had fallen for one of these scammers and was still sending money all the time to this person that she had never met because they loved each other. So if you don't mind playing this video, and then we'll discuss it some more.
Has gone mainstream, maybe an understatement. Nearly 1 in 3 Americans have gone online to find a partner.
Yeah, a Utah woman thought that she found love through a dating site. She did not. And as KSL investigator Matt Gephardt explains, what she did for love could land her in jail. Matt?
Yeah, Mike Dini, if you find yourself the victim of a scam, there's a few things you can probably expect, right? You can expect to lose a little bit of money. Maybe you would expect to lose a little bit of pride. How about losing your freedom? Tonight, the story of a woman who found herself jailed for love.
Christina Ott thought she had found the man of her dreams on a dating website. She was recently divorced, and she loved what she was hearing from him.
You start opening up yourself to somebody and allowing somebody else's life into yours.
While never meeting in person, through constant emails, text messages, and phone calls.
You fell in love?
Christina says she fell in love.
He said he was too.
But you, I mean, really,
I
felt in love.
Absolutely. Which, you know, I never believed that that could happen, right?
And after a while, the two began talking about their future. The man told Christina that he wanted to start a business.
It's my retirement. I live in Utah. Let's open a restaurant in downtown Salt Lake. I'm like, that's great.
From here, that relationship became much more financial.
So I've saved everything because, like I said...
Christina says her online love claimed that he had investors lined up. So she opened some bank accounts and began taking deposits. And she says at his direction, she wired money to pay for things like a building and restaurant equipment. Or so she thought.
Oh, we had to write a check to open the account.
Christina showed us the huge amount of checks and wires that passed through her accounts. $3,000 or $4,000 here, $14,000 there. Some amounts as high as 50 grand, totaling up to...
maybe $1 million.
You had $1 million go through your bank account?
I think, yeah.
But Christina says their partnership, both financial and romantic, dissolved quickly when she expressed frustration.
And I said, look, I've waited long enough for you to be in town. I get COVID and all of that, but you need to be here. I'm not sending anything else out until you're here with me.
Here, he falls silent. It's also where Christina says she realized that she had been duped. Months later, she was visiting her nephew on a military base for Christmas and trying to clear security. The police were called, and she was taken away in cuffs.
In front of my kids, my grandchild.
Christina spent 3 nights in jail before she was able to bail out. Authorities arrested her on a warrant out of Powell County, Kentucky.
The KSL investigators reached out to Kentucky prosecutors to ask about all of this. They have not yet returned our calls, but through court records, we were able to see that the charges are serious.
Christina faces a felony charge of theft by unlawful taking. Prosecutors in Kentucky are accusing her of taking more than $46,000 from a bank. If convicted, Christina could spend 5 to 10 years behind bars and have to pay $92,500 back. And even if Christina didn't know what she was doing, the charges could stick, says FBI Special Agent Drew Scown.
If there's enough warning signs there that a reasonable person should have, figured out, hey, something is not right here, then absolutely that person could be on the hook for laundering that money. And
Scown could not get into the specifics of Christina's case, but he tells me she is far from alone getting duped by a lying lover. Well over 23,000 Americans lost more than $600 million to romance scammers and con artists in 2020. That includes 296 Utahns who lost more than $6 million. Scown says many romance scammers will trick their victims into not necessarily sending their own money, but rather acting like a money mule.
And they're basically used by these criminal organizations to move funds from one place to another, to both hide who the criminal organization is, and also to make it harder for law enforcement to trace those illegal funds.
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
As for Christina, she insists that she thought she was opening a restaurant with a man whom she loved. She's embarrassed and she's scared.
I don't want it to happen to anybody. It's totally destroying my life and my future.
All right, some late developments on this one. Well, we still have not heard back from Kentucky prosecutors. Christina says she has. They're offering her a plea deal. They will drop the felony charges. They will say no jail time, and they will let her off with a misdemeanor. She has to plead guilty to a misdemeanor and pay back $5,000. Christina says that's a deal she's probably going to take. And Deanie, she hopes others learn from this incredibly traumatic for her story.
Yeah, to be set up on so many levels that way, that's a tough lesson. Matt, thank you.
So what are your thoughts? Yeah. This one was more of a money mule, just as it says. They were using her to launder money. So I've always heard the word launder money, a way of cleaning money, dirty money, not physically dirty money, but it's been involved in illegal activity. And they want to get it, the trace off of their hands and clean that money so that they can put it into other places. But she fell into this thinking she was in love with a man she never met. I don't know how y'all work, but I need to see somebody in person before I usually fall in love with them. Yes, ma'am? How old is she? 73. So it's just like the couple that we met at Rich Fork Baptist Church, and the woman's mother was involved in one, and you can't convince them otherwise. So if y'all didn't hear what she asked, was any advice that we could give to somebody that may be involved in this? This is the second time this person has gotten involved with someone. Do you know how much money that they've put out? Over 10,000 the first time. How'd she get out of the first one? Okay. Yeah. I mean, but how did she get out of the relationship? How did she? Okay, good. Back into it. Yeah. Show them a video like this. Get their kids to show her a video. Get her to, hey, Google it. There is all kinds of stuff on the internet. There's all kinds of YouTube. There is a YouTube video for anything you can think about that you may need a YouTube video on. I mean, you can look up anything. I would drop subtle hints. I would leave news articles laying around. I would do research on that other person if you could even find them, because mostly they're out of the country. In the past month, I've had 2 different phone calls from 2 different people, both of them to me directly. One of them, he's a pharmacist. The other one, she's the director at a nursing home. Both of them don't know each other at all. One's a black female, one's a white male. The first phone call was from the pharmacist saying, my son, who's 16, has gotten himself in some trouble. We don't know what to do. I said, okay, what's going on? He was sending pictures of himself, nude pictures, so sexting, okay? I know this is a whole different topic than what we were going to get into, but this falls in with what I'm talking about. So he was sending pictures of himself to a girl that he had met online. the girl was of age or whatever. It's none of this whatever. Well, he started getting messages and phone calls from a man saying that he was the police and that the pictures that this young man was sending was to an underage young lady, and in order to not get in trouble for it, he had to start getting gift cards and sending them to him. Well, the young man did it. He's 16. He's scared to death. He doesn't want to tell his parents that he was sending nude pictures to somebody and face the consequences and the embarrassment on that. So he started getting the gift cards, and he started sending them however they were asking for it. Got up to a couple $100. Finally, he told his dad, and I think maybe he ran out of money and he needed some more money, so he told his dad about it. Well, his dad's a pretty logical person. I mean, he made it through pharmacy school. And they talked to the person on the phone the next time that person called, and the person had a very heavy, like, Nigerian accent. And the conversation did not go very well, but the father knew that it was a scam. So the only thing that we can do at this point, we can do a police report, because it happened in the city of High Point, but wherever that person lives, you can do a police report, have it noted, but the odds of actually making an arrest on that are slim because the bad guys are in another country. The woman who works at a nursing home, her son was 21, did the same thing, sent some pictures to somebody. Got some messages, started getting phone calls saying this was to an underage person. You've got to start sending us money. So he did. Well, he started asking his mom for money, and she's like, why do you need money? What are we doing? So he tells her the whole thing. Again, same kind of storyline. The mom calls me, and I said, look, we need to at least file a police report so we can track it. We can have a paper trail of it. But there's more than likely nothing that we can do. The SBI is aware of it. They even say these people are out of the country more than likely. We're not going to be able to get it back. Well, she went into Mama Bear mode, and she got this person on the phone, and she gave them their last right. Somehow, some way, they sent her money back. I don't know how. I said, you're lucky. I don't know what you said to them. I don't want to know what you said to them. But she got their money back. But again, that's not going to happen with every instance. Not the exact same as a romance scam, but kind of along the new age lines of a romance scam. Yes, ma'am? Oh, those pictures are in the internet across the world, who knows where. Yeah, and that's what these kids don't understand. You take that picture and you put it out there, it's out there forever. It doesn't matter if you delete it off your phone, it's in the cyber webs, wherever they float off to. The interwebs, cyber webs, world wide webs, everything. So the whole romance scam, the people on the other end of the phone are very good at what they're doing, and very good at talking, and very good at making someone have feelings for them, and they've never met them. So then they can talk them into about anything. Majority of the time it's women, I think, that are the victims, especially if they're lonely. They may be a widow, or their kids are obviously grown and out of the house, and it's somebody to talk to. So, I mean, hints, newspapers, articles, videos. Yes, ma'am? You talk to your cat? Does your cat talk back? Okay. And how's the conversation go? Good. Hey. I bet your cat's going to keep you out of a lot of stuff, too. And good. It's good to have somebody to talk to. All right, next slide. All right. Any questions on the scams and safety? Yes, ma'am. Paul, can we turn on this microphone for people with questions?
Can you, okay. Many of us get phone calls, and we know that it'll say potential spam, and then, yeah, and some of them, do slide through under the radar. Can you tell us some things that we need to do, maybe on our phones or something, to block those particular type of calls?
I wish my mother was here because she would go on for another hour talking just about this because it drives her crazy. I mean, she will answer the phone and just start talking to these people just to annoy them. And I said, why waste your time? I mean, yeah. She'll start asking them their name and their age and everything else and just keep on talking. So you can block phone numbers. However, so many of these just get a new number, and it just is a vicious cycle. Do what? They are computer generated. Absolutely. They are computer generated. The number that they're calling and the number that they're calling from. I've had phone calls that come from my own phone number. That's something called a spoof. You can download an app. It's a spoofing app where you can call Sarah and it can be from her, but it's not her at all. There's ways around all of that. My mother, again, is furious. She wants to know why the government is not shutting this problem down. And I said, Mom, I think there's a little bit bigger problems than just these phone calls. Don't answer. Block it when you can. Some people answer it and blow a whistle in the phone, so then maybe they would take you off their call list. I don't know. Get creative with it, but mostly just don't answer it. I think when you answer it, they maybe, triggers a little more activity or something. So, yes, ma'am.
I'll run it
Okay.
back there.
I have an older person that I'm helping, and one of the things that she says she does, now she's 92, lonely, and does like to talk to these people, but she says, do you know my age? And they're, of course, going to say no. She says, I'm 92. And she said, usually that's a click. They don't want to talk to somebody 92.
No. I get phone calls all the time as well on property for sale. Y'all get those phone calls? You have property for sale at such and such whatever address, and I'll say no, and they'll say, but do you have any property you want to sell? And I'll say no, but it doesn't matter. They just continue. He's our Vanna up here. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
My mom is 80, she'll be 87 in October. And we We recently sat down and went through her Facebook account because my mom uses Facebook to keep up with her friends from high school and all the places she's lived. And she was pretty regularly receiving these solicitations that would be romance scams from men on Facebook. And they always present themselves very well. A lot of them try to say they have a military background or they're some CEO. They always present themselves as being very good looking and successful. And so she knew they were scams, but she didn't want to get them anymore because it just irritated her to try to figure out how to block them and get rid of them. And so we went through her privacy settings on there because we have figured out by this point she's probably already friends with whoever she wants to be. So we shut her Facebook profile down and made it so that it was private. Because if you do use Facebook and you have it set to where your profile is public, which means other people can search for your name and find you, that's one of the ways that these folks find you and start to send you friend requests and solicitations. So if you do use social media, I would say Facebook is probably one of the bigger offenders that I have seen for where romance scams get started, and that you can go in and adjust your privacy settings in your account to make sure that you're not a public profile, and that will give you some layer of protection against it even getting that stuff in the first place. And I did the math when the slide was up there. It had said 260 some people in Utah, over $6 million, I think it was. Anyways, the average is about $24,000 a person they're taking people for.
So if you set your privacy to not be recognized, when you're on, for those of you that are on social media and on Facebook, if you're scrolling through Facebook, there will be a little section that says people that you may know, and it'll pop up their picture and their name, and you can one click and add them as a friend. That would take away from that. It wouldn't add it up there in that section as well. One other thing in relation to Facebook, and then we'll move on to the other topic, but again, my mother, she's the topic of a lot of my stories because she's an easy target. On Facebook, they had an advertisement for these little hummingbird feeders, cute little hummingbird feeders, look like a little half of a mason jar or the quarter of a mason jar, and little flowers for where the birds could eat out of, and a piece of wire to hang it. She's like, oh, that's cute. I'll get it for the girls and give it to them for Christmas, and my sister, I'll get, a couple of them. So she clicked on it in Facebook. She went in, she placed her order, put her credit card information in. Nothing ever happened. She never got any information, never got a confirmation email. She tried contacting them, nothing. Well, what does she do but go in and do it again? She places another order. I'm telling you, my mama is a good one. So, I mean, to the point that she, I think, ordered 2 cases worth of these things and put in all of her information, could never get any contact from the company, never had any responses from them. She contacted the bank. She put a stop on that payment. So they didn't get any money. She was refunded her money by the bank. Well, lo and behold, here comes the UPS driver and delivers 2 cases of these little hummingbird feeders. So somehow, my mother scammed the scammers. Not sure how, but she has 2 cases. But these little hummingbird feeders look like a hummingbird feeder, but where the hummingbird would put their beak in to eat, there's no hole for them to get to the food. So it's just, anyway, don't click on those things. If you see something you like that is an advertisement on Facebook, go out of Facebook. I use Amazon all the time, or I'll just Google it. Google it, and it's going to bring up a better option to order something through. So if you aren't sure of that website, don't necessarily use it. Okay, any other questions or anything on the scams and safety? All right, yeah.
About 12 years ago, she got a call that supposedly she had won this big lottery, but she had to pay some money and all this. And
yeah.
So I had drilled into her, don't ever give them any information, don't ever give them any information, to be aware. So thank God she was that day. Well, truthfully, the district attorney for Wilkes County lived across the street from my mother. And so she said, well, this sounds really good, but I believe I'll talk to my neighbor who's the district attorney. Click. So,
yeah.
Tell a lie to get rid of them if you have to.
Absolutely. Nothing says you can't lie to them, because they are surely lying to you. All right. Any other questions? Paul, if you don't mind switching us over to the other presentation. And we'll go on to the first slide. Okay. So, because I'm not sure, some of you in here may have maids and nannies and everything else where you don't have to leave your house except to come to church, and all your shopping and everything else is taken care of things for you, and it just appears, right? Or do you actually go shopping yourselves? Me too. So I go to Walmart. I don't shop at Target anymore, but I go to Walmart, I go to Food Line, I go to Lowe's Foods, any of those grocery stores. But where do you park when you get there? As close as we can get to the door, right? Why is that? Most of the time it's because I'm lazy, is why I park as close as I can. But it is actually the best option when we're out shopping, especially by ourselves. Because if you're closer to the door, what's around more if you're closer to that door? More people, exactly. And the more people, the better, because if anything happens, you'll have more of a witness around you. Absolutely, yes. Most places have cameras now, and you would be definitely closer to the cameras. If it's dark outside, park under a street light in the parking lot. You don't want to go out to a car where it's dark and nobody else is around, or there's nothing to be seen. Next slide, please. Before you exit your car, make sure you have everything that you need. No fumbling. Your mission should be to get out of the car, not sit in your car with the door open, with your foot on the door, digging over in your pocketbook, getting your keys, getting your coffee cup. I'm guilty of this at work, but we work in a fenced-in area, thankfully. But when I'm getting out, when I get there in the mornings, I'm getting my lunch bag, I'm getting my coffee cup, I'm getting my keys, my phone, and then my hands are full when I'm walking into the building. Well, it's not okay, but it's better that I'm in a fenced-in, secured area doing this than out in a public area. Again, I use my mother as a reference. She worked at Carolina. She worked in the medical school, the admission part of the medical school, and she parked in the parking deck. And she would get out every morning, same time, same place she would park every day. She went the same route to work. She would get out, she'd get her lunchbox, she'd get her water cup, she'd get her phone, she'd get her purse, she'd get everything. So then she's walking in like this. So if somebody would have approached her and stolen or tried to steal, she had nothing. She was loaded down. So when you're getting out of your car, get out of your car with a purpose. How many of you women, ladies, when you get out of your car and you're going in somewhere, you leave your pocketbook just sitting in the car, even though you lock your car, because that's going to secure it? No? Thank goodness. So many people, especially during furniture market, because the people that visit High Point think that they are immune to crime when they come to High Point for furniture market. They will leave book bags and expensive briefcases and pocketbooks and computers and cell phones and anything you can think of laying in plain sight in their vehicle in downtown High Point. Now, I love our city, and we do the best that we can to secure our city and protect our city. However, we have criminals everywhere, and a criminal walks by a car, and that's their main purpose, is to find something for free that they can trade for money or drugs. So it's nothing to them to break a window and take whatever it is they see laying out. If you're going to a ball game, I see a High Point Rockers t-shirt. We don't necessarily want to carry our pocketbooks everywhere that we go. They are great. We keep a lot of things in them, but they are large and in the way. So should we get out when we're getting to the location that we're going to and put our purse in the trunk when we get there? No, no. Because you putting your trunk in the purse, somebody else, your purse in the trunk. I told y'all I'd mess up a word. Putting your purse in the trunk, somebody else is going to see that happen, and that is nothing more than a broken window, because all cars have a button inside usually. All right, next slide, please. Locking your doors, which was the last one on that slide before we go into this video. We have just as many report calls in the city, especially neighborhoods, where we have juveniles that come from other cities and even within our own city, that they do nothing at night but walk around neighborhoods and check car handles. And every car handle that they find unlocked, they're going through that car and they're taking out anything and everything that would be of value to them. There are guns stolen regularly because we keep guns in our vehicles. There are cars stolen regularly because we keep keys in our cars. My father was notorious for leaving the keys under the seat in his truck. It's a wonder it was never stolen. But again, lock your doors, especially if you park outside, if you don't have a garage, if you live in a neighborhood. It doesn't matter if you're out here in the county or if you're in the city. Nobody is immune to people coming through neighborhoods and checking car doors. All right, next one, please, and if you don't mind playing that video. Do you mind playing that one again? So you see the female walk into her vehicle, and in her hand she has her keys. And then a male approaches her, which startles her, which he shouldn't be coming up on her when she's walking to her car. Your personal space is your personal space, and that's however big or small of a circle that you make it. But if you don't want anybody in that circle, that's a-okay, because that's your space. Nobody has to be in that. So what she had in her hand was her keys. Most of us that have brand new or newer-ish cars, we don't even carry our keys anymore. They stay in our purse or in our pockets. We don't need them to get into the car, because when we get to the car, we touch the handle and it unlocks, right? So some of us with older cars, you still have the remote that you can click. That's what she had in her hand. So she hit the panic button on her keys as a distractant, because what that brought was attention, and that's what that bad guy didn't want. He didn't want any attention brought to them. When you bring attention to a situation, then you create witnesses, just like we talked about in a parking lot. When you have witnesses, a bad person does not want any witnesses. They want to get in and around and out before anybody can see it. This little thing that I have in my hand is a little personal alarm. I can pass it around. Y'all can look at it. I think I got this one at TJ Maxx. You can get them online, I think Amazon, and sometimes they come in multi-packs. But for those of us that don't have to take our keys out of our pockets anymore to open our cars, this can be hanging on your pants or on your pocketbook. And it's nothing more. Anybody got hearing aids in here? I want to give y'all a heads up before I pull this because it's a little shrill. Okay, this is going to be loud to anybody with hearing aids, so just be ready, okay? Yes. So literally you're going to, you know how it works. Yeah. Right. So, could y'all hear that okay? Was that, I mean, it sounded a little more muted in here, but again, we're inside. I don't know how it would carry outside. But that is something to get somebody's attention. So if you had somebody approach you and you didn't have your panic button to hit, or if you had something like this, or if you hit your panic button, when you're in a parking lot and somebody's car alarm goes off, what do we all do? You look to see where the car is, right? You look to see if it's your own car, but then you're looking to see if it's anybody's car or whose car it is. Same thing. Somebody hears this going off, they're going to look around and say, well, where's that alarm coming from? So it's going to draw attention, which is what we want. Next slide. In the store, keeping your belongings close to you. Don't leave your purse in the cart. How many of you put your pocketbook in the cart and then this is the canned food aisle right here. And my cart is right here. But the Jell-O is on this side of the aisle. And I leave my purse and my cart on that side and I step over here to the Jell-O. How long does it take for somebody to steal something out of your cart? That's exactly right. Half a second. They could grab your purse, they could grab your wallet, they could grab anything and just go. Even a cell phone, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't turn your back on anything. Pay attention to your surroundings. Keep your head on a swivel. Scan the area as you walk in case somebody tries to walk up on you. And use your voice. So I talked about the alert button on your key fob, but then I also talked about this little thing. But something that we always have with us, anywhere we go, is our voice. So it's as simple as saying, stop! Sorry, I should have warned y'all on that one. It's the microphone. But it's that simple. Because if you hear somebody, it doesn't matter if you yell stop, get away, back up, you raise your voice a little bit, people are going to turn their heads. And when people turn their heads, then you have that attention that the bad guy doesn't want. So we use our voices. We always have those with us. Yes, ma'am.
This is something that I do. I do put my purse in the cart, but I always snap it in like it's a baby. Or, know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And is that a good idea?
I was getting ready to play a little bit of devil's advocate on that. While that is a better idea than just letting it sit there, most bad guys are used to running to get away from something very fast. So it's nothing for them to take your cart and start running with it.
Oh, okay.
It's better than just leaving it sitting there, but I still would not walk away from it. Yes, ma'am. About the Kia thefts.
Yes.
I'm not very familiar with it. Are y'all familiar with the Kia thefts? They're stealing Kias. Huh? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Oh, really? Do y'all remember the Trunk Monkey commercials? God, we need to put that video in there. Trunk Monkey was a commercial for Chevrolet. Anyway, it was for an alarm system. God, we got to put that video in there. It was for an alarm system, and literally, if something was happening or somebody was breaking into your car, there was a monkey in your trunk, and when he heard the sound of glass break, he would come out and he would beat up the bad guy. So maybe they're sending you a trunk monkey. I don't know. Y'all have to Google it. I'm telling you, Google Trunk Monkey. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, goodness, the mic thing. I watched a video yesterday that showed a gentleman walking around a car. He said, okay, if you don't have your keys with you, this is how you can open any car. He went from the front door to the back door to the opposite side, and the thing opened up.
Did you go outside and try it on your car?
Yes.
Did it work?
No. But I didn't know if it would work on some other car, or they would say if you push this button once and then push it twice and the windows will
Oh,
come down.
I've seen all of those too. Yeah, I don't.
It's too much information.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with the Kias and the Hyundais. I don't. Go ahead. How many Kias and Hyundais have you stolen, Captain? Pull the column off. Another example of the door handles. They're going around checking door handles. And Captain, how many times, if they made any arrest on any of those, but how many times were those juveniles from another city? Often. Very often. Yes. So the guns that are stolen out of our cars, because we want to keep a gun with us in our vehicle in case anything happens to us, they're getting stolen and then they're used in crimes. Most of these kids are trying to be a part of a gang or are already part of a gang. Yes, sir.
In a lot of these places, they aren't individuals. They're systems.
Yes.
I worked for the Home Depot. They would bring, in Greensboro, they would bring vans full of people, and they had maps of our store. Mm-hmm. And they'd go through, and then they'd bring it back to get cash for it. I also worked for the Highway Patrol back in the 60s. The lieutenant of our Troop F, Edwin Guy, drove to Raleigh to get his new car and brought it back, parked it in his driveway, went in his house, tell his wife that he was going back to the station to go to work. They stole a brand new patrol car and had it disassembled within 3 days, and it was a system out of Shelby, North Carolina, that were stealing cars. So it's not just one person.
No, it's a ring of people.
Right.
We have the same things happen. TJ Maxx, for example, they have a ring of women that come in from out of the city, and they shoplift all throughout the store. They grab anything and everything they can, and then they leave altogether. They probably aren't even running at this point because they know that TJ Maxx, their corporate policy is to not call the police. Same thing maybe with Home Depot. I don't know how theirs has changed or not. But yes, it is a ring of people. We have the same problems. When I was in narcotics, I did prescription fraud investigations. We would have rings of people, usually somehow gang related, that would come down from Chicago or New York or other places and hit all the pharmacies in a couple areas and pass all these fraudulent prescriptions. And they do it all as a group. So anyway, yes, those are good points. Yes, sir. Oh, Trunk Monkey, yes, please.
The Trunk Monkey Theft Retrieval System. Because sometimes getting your car back is simply not enough. Another revolutionary idea you'll only find at
It was Chevrolet. Chevrolet and Ford because...
Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I still can't believe my dad let us even touch his new car. I think it came with the car. Hey. Wait!
The Trunk Monkey Chaperone version. An innovative idea you'll only find at Suburban Auto Group.
When I'm driving, I like to play it safe. That's why I never text and drive. With my Trunk Monkey, I can send hands-free texts. Send. I'm running late. I'll be there.
I hadn't seen this one.
Bananas, bananas, bananas.
The Trunk Monkey Texting Edition, only at Suburban Auto Group.
If you want hunky, get with the monkey. Oh, so now he's a monkey.
You can stop him.
That is
Thank you for pulling that up.
How about if we don't give us a ticket today and just a...
So, maybe they're sending you a Trunk Monkey, I don't know. Now that we can relate to what I was talking about. So we'll pick back up where we were and we'll roll on through this. We'll go on to the next slide. Leaving the store, when you're going out to your car, make sure you have your keys in your hand if you have to have your keys to get into your vehicle, not digging through your pocketbook so that you're distracted and anybody can walk up on you. Use your automated trunk opener and door locks. Have your head on a swivel when approaching your car. If you feel intimidated walking back to your car, you have every right to ask a manager to walk with you. If you go and ask a manager or any store employee of that store, I don't feel comfortable, can you please escort me to my car? And they refuse to, then I would probably refuse to shop there anymore. That is going to be a customer service thing that they should provide. And if there is someone in their parking lot that's making people uncomfortable, they need to be made aware of that so that they can call us, because if they have someone in their parking lot that's distracting or causing concern to their customers, then their customers aren't going to want to shop there. Yes, ma'am. Uh-huh.
Feel so foolish because I thought when I went out I always was observant, but I'm not. I found out. I was putting my groceries in my car and had my back, of course, you know, I was putting them in the car. And I had a case of water, and this gentleman behind me said, "May I put your water in the car?" Well, I thought it was one of their bag boys because who else, you know, I couldn't imagine a stranger. I said, "Sure, thank you," without even turning around. And when I turned around, there was this homeless guy. And I mean, I was like, I just, you know, I thought, oh my God, now what am I going to, you know, really it scared me. And so he took my water, he did put it in my car. Luckily, this woman comes by and he says to her, can I help you with your groceries? And She said, no, thank you. And he said to both of us then, he said, well, all I need is some money. I'm so hungry. But I thought I was observant, but I found out I'm not. I didn't know there was a person
Right.
around me.
So here's the thing with our homeless population, or not even necessarily homeless, people that are asking for money in parking lots or on the street corners, as they are everywhere, especially in parking lots. They prey on women, they prey on elderly, they prey on somebody that may be distracted already. So you may not have seen him because he was standing behind a car. He could have been crouching behind a car and then just kind of popped up. Oh, she's not looking, let me pop up now and catch her off guard. Most criminals are not very bright, but they have a little bit of common sense, so that they may put that to use sometimes. Now, on the topic of people asking for money or asking for food. I'm in a church.
No, do not do it.
Exactly. I'm in a church. I'm trying to keep this nice, but this job jades us in all that we see. And you sounded like God. If that's what God would sound like, I think God has a deep voice. And he has the voice of God too, by the way. Major Truitt can sing beautifully. Anyway, this job jades us so that we see the bad in everyone most times. There are some people that are truly hungry. There are some people that are truly in need. But I don't think those are the people that are standing on the corner asking for money or just saying that they're homeless. There have been instances that we buy food and give them to these people that are asking, and they turn around and throw it away, which again jades us even more. I'm not against helping someone. I think everybody needs help. Beggars go back to biblical times, right? So back in Jesus' day, when Jesus was walking the earth, there were people that were beggars. So it's not going away, but we can choose who we do and don't help and how we do and don't help them. So I would not recommend giving them money. All right, so have your head on a swivel, and if you feel intimidated, ask somebody to escort you out there. Again, the thing that we always have with us is our voice, so don't be scared to use that voice of telling them to get back. Next slide. Check your back seat when you get in and lock your doors automatically. So here's something to think about. How many of you park in a garage at your house? Have a garage. So you pull in your garage. Do you put your garage door down and then get out? Do you turn your car off and open your door and then put your garage door down? This is just food for thought. I don't have an answer one way or the other. This is just something to make us think about. So what do you think? Put the garage door down and your car's still running, and then you get out? Put the garage door down, turn your car off, and then get out, or turn your car off, get out, and then put your garage door down. Close the garage door, and then get out. Yeah? Just something to think about. Same thing if you don't have a garage that you park in. If you park in just the driveway, or if you have a carport that's open, just pay attention to your surroundings when you're getting out. Next slide. At the gas station, don't leave your keys in the car, and don't enter the store without locking your doors. I'm guilty of leaving my keys in the car when I'm getting gas. I do turn it off mostly, but I do leave my keys in there. But a lot of times we're on the opposite side of the car, right? So it's nothing for somebody to hop in there. It's food for thought. Next slide. While driving, be observant of the cars around you. Be aware of your surroundings. If you think you're being followed, drive to a well-lit area. Keep driving and call the police, and be sure to give good descriptions. Here's a story from a couple years ago when I was in narcotics, and I just happened to be driving towards the old police department, and I was in an unmarked car, so I had no lights. And if y'all are familiar with Hartley Drive and Old Winston, up near the Walmart, up near Chick-fil-A and all of that in High Point. So I'm driving, and there's two cars going along. The front car was an SUV with an older black female driving. And the rear car was a small four-door sedan with a white older female driving. The second car, the white older female, was just laying on the horn and following every move that the first car was doing. Every turn that the first car made, the back car made too. And she was on the horn, I mean, excessively just laying on the horn. So I'm like, what is going on? Is this road rage? What are we doing? So I followed them for a minute. Again, nobody knows I was the police because I was in an unmarked car and I wasn't in a uniform. So I keep following them. I'm like, something ain't right. So I get up beside the first car, and I tell her to pull over, and she does. So I pulled both of these cars over without any blue lights. I don't know how I did it, but I did. So I get out, and I identify myself as a police officer, and other units are coming at this point. I'm calling it out on the radio, and communications advises that, you know, we had a 911 call from one of the drivers. So I start talking to the driver in the front car, the elderly black woman. She said, I don't have any idea what's going on. This woman's been following me all over High Point, blowing her horn, and she's following me everywhere I go, and I'm scared to stop. I'm on the phone with 911, but I don't know why she's following me. So I go back and I talk to the woman in the rear car who has a little tiny dog on her lap, and it looks like she's living in her car. And I said, ma'am, what's going on? She said, well, this car followed me all the way to the beach. This is the exact same car. I know it is. They've been following me for days. I said, but ma'am, you're following her now, right? Yes, but that's the car that followed me to the beach. She was adamant about it. That was the exact same license plate. I said, well, who's driving this car? She said, it's a young black male. I said, no, we're dealing with an older black female that's scared to death right now. Long story short, the black female was completely innocent. The white female had probably been using some drugs for quite a while and was hallucinating and imagining that this vehicle in front of her was the same one that had followed her everywhere that she had gone. So when she saw that vehicle, she said, well, I'm going to follow them too, and I'm going to get them back for it. Again, pay attention to your surroundings. Don't just stop anywhere. The female that was in the front car, she was on the phone with the police. We were trying to get to them, but they were driving so much that it was hard for us to catch up with them because they were making so many turns. You know, if we aren't right there with a car to follow it, it's hard to catch up to them. So be sure to give good descriptions of anybody. Yes, ma'am.
Don't you think those ladies were being foolish when you pulled up beside of them in an unmarked car?
I'm pretty sure I held my badge up to let her know I was a police. And by that point, she was probably so scared that, you know.
I would not have.
No, I wouldn't have either. She could have. She pulled over in a good area, but she should have driven to a police department or to a gas station or something. So, all right, next slide. And that's that. Any questions? Comments, concerns? Was this helpful? Okay. Yes, ma'am. The microphone's coming to you.
When there are services or meetings at this church, sometimes the doors are not locked during those meetings because somebody might come in late. Can you kind of touch on what we should do there?
So that's another thing that we offer within our community division is what's the word? Security assessment. I have to look at Emily to sometimes get it out. So we do a security assessment, and we do that at churches, we do that at businesses, we do that anywhere. And it's us coming around looking at what you're talking about, things that may draw concern, bushes that are covering windows where people could hide, doors that are unlocked. Do you all have a security team here? No? Okay. That's something a lot of churches are looking into too. Having a security team, meaning that there are one or two people assigned that while the church service is going on, those one or two people are walking the exterior of the building, or one person is standing out here, because those doors, you don't want to lock them in case somebody comes in late, but that there's somebody standing there paying attention to who's coming in. You know, the church shooting that was in Texas, that the young man came in and shot a lot of people, things like that, just kind of raise the hair on the back of your neck. So that's an option. We could come out and do a security assessment out here. But the best thing would be, I know you can't always lock the door, but have somebody that's responsible for standing there and paying attention to who's coming in, or have somebody back there the entire time. Other questions? Concerns, comments? Thank y'all for staying awake. I hope you learned something from it. Yes, ma'am. Sarah. Sarah, yeah.
She's my radar to crime, okay.
Radar to crime. Okay, Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's your trunk monkey.
Yeah, she's my trunk monkey. Okay. The other day we had gone out to eat. I was coming out of the restaurant and I had paid cash, and I was fiddling with my money, and she's like, "Give me your pocketbook. Go get that. Put that money up before we go on." And I, she has made me more aware of wearing cross straps and things like that. So I think we as friends, anybody here, we need to be
Look out for each other.
For each other, yeah.
Right. And Sarah, that's really good. Do you want a job? We're hiring. There's no age limit. Yeah. So yes.
With my grandchildren, I have every day going to the preschool, and sometimes I have to stop at the store, and my daughter and son-in-law, they're always on me because I put the kids in the back of the van, and the door's usually open. Now, if it's raining, I'll shut it. Most time my door's left open, and they have a fit with me about taking so long getting the kids buckled up, and I don't know how else to do it.
You could get inside with them, I guess, and close the door and buckle them up, and I don't know.
There's not a lot of options. Yeah. Well, if it's raining, I will shut the door.
Yes. And I would
Don't
just
rain, but
maybe check over your shoulder every.
oh, I do that.
Yeah.
When I come out of anywhere, I'm looking.
Yeah. And that's tough for any mom or dad putting a kid in a car seat, because your head is all in your top half of your body is in that car. Right.
Not,
right.
at that point.
And that's something, especially if we have kids and grandkids with us, that we are distracted by. I'm distracted when my 10-year-old's with me. I'm trying to keep track of him, but I'm also trying to pay attention to everything that's around me. And my child is a nosy child, so he's constantly looking and into everything. So, I mean, that's a food for thought too, something to think about.
My husband was going to the store a couple of weeks ago, and I had company at my house from out of town. And he says, "I'm going to the store. You kids want to go?" Well, of course, 2 of them's ready to go. And I said, "No, you can't take them," because I don't trust him to pay enough attention to them.
Oh, I'm with you.
I mean, he's going to be looking at something, and the kids I just said, "No." And I said, "Sarah, I am so sorry, but I've got to go with him to the store.
Yeah.
I can't let those kids go with just him because I just don't feel good about it."
Right.
Because I don't think he pays enough attention to his surroundings like I would
Oh,
at the store.
I got another Ann story. Ann is my mother. I should have given that to y'all in the beginning. Ann is 76, soon to be 77. And she is very independent, lives on her own. She's widowed. My father died 6 years ago, but she's done very well on her own since he passed. But when my child was an infant, this was 9 3/4 years ago, whatever, I had to have surgery. A little outpatient surgery, and Mom had my son with us, and she took me to the outpatient center. So while I was back there having surgery, she had my infant in his car seat, and she was in the waiting room, and she had to use the restroom. Well, she asked a stranger to watch my son while she went to the restroom. And she told us this story afterwards, and I'm like, you ever talk to some people and they give you that permanent crease right here in your head, like you're like, Are you really telling me this? Did this really happen? And to this day, we bring that up because the exact same thing. While she is a big help to us, I don't 100% trust her with my child because she does not pay attention to things like I would like for her to. She lets strangers watch my kid. She would let him do whatever. And she doesn't quite see what was wrong with that, because when she grew up, that was okay. But now it's not. So these are Ann stories. I could write a book about the things that Ann has done. So, any other questions or comments? And one back here too.
Where?
In the back. Oh.
You going first, Rachel?
Okay. Just
one other thing that it's not part of the presentation, it's not part of what's mentioned here, but one other thing I will say where we do have a lot of folks, particularly elderly folks, fall prey to is getting services done, either contract work at their house or in their yard or whatever it is, and paying up front, and then services not being completed. And so I would very strongly recommend that you be very careful about that, and that you adopt a very strict policy of not paying for work until it's complete, and not paying people up front. A lot of times people will ask for a large sum of money up front for materials to do a job. And I know that that's sometimes necessary for smaller business owners, but I would say most professionals are not going to require a large sum up front for materials for work to be done. So just be very wary of that, and be smart when it comes to contracting out those types of services, because a lot of the folks that I know that have fallen prey to that have gone under for thousands and thousands of dollars for homework. So just that's one place where you need to slow down a little bit and do your homework and make sure you've got good contracts in place, and that you're not paying people a lot of money out of pocket and up front for work to be done, so you don't end up holding the bag when it's over with.
Yep.
This is something else I do. I don't know if it's good or bad, but when I'm in my car and I'm sitting there waiting to get out, and I'm reaching over to get my purse and all, when I turn off that ignition, I reach over and I hit the lock button, so all my doors lock. And I do not unlock those doors until I've gathered my purse, whatever else I'm going to take. Then I unlock the door with the button and I get out. When I come back to my vehicle, if I go out to eat a lot, so I usually have leftovers. So I go around to the passenger side, I unlock my vehicle, I put my food in, then I hit the lock on the door with my fingers, because I put my food and my purse there. Then walk around my vehicle, get in my vehicle, immediately lock all the doors with the button.
That's a great idea. Same thing when you're getting your groceries and you come out from the grocery store and
I
you're putting
do
your
that.
groceries in and you put your buggy away. Lock your
Lock your
car
car.
while you go to put your buggy away.
I do that too.
Yeah, same thing. Sounds like your cat gives you very good advice.
She does. Thank you.
All right, if that's all, thank y'all so much for your time and your patience and attendance, and thanks for coming.